everyone. I'm Miss Carol. Here from St. John's UCC in Nazareth, and I am so happy that you could join me today. I just wanted to share with you some of the things that you'll need for today's lesson. Hopefully you received the supply list in your email. If you did not, you can email Linda Danner at dld@rcn.com, or you could also contact the church office. One of the things that you should have received was a recipe for making a special treat, a patchwork of thanks, and a Thanksgiving word find. What I'd like you to do first, and you can stop this video at any time if you need to gather your materials or to make this recipe. You can go ahead and gather the materials you'll need and follow the directions to make your special treat, and then come back and join me. All right, welcome back. Today, our special lesson is going to be about a happy harvest and celebrating all of God's goodness. Since we were together last, there's been many changes. We went through spring and summer, and here we are in fall already. I hope you got to enjoy some of the activities that you like to do during those seasons, and I especially hope you got to enjoy all the abundance of food that's available during all these seasons. Perhaps over the summer, you got to go strawberry or blueberry picking, and I'm sure you enjoyed all kinds of delicious melons and corn on the cob, and tomatoes from the garden. Maybe you even visited a farmer's market, or you grew things in your very own garden. This fall, maybe you've gone apple picking and maybe even turned some into applesauce. Or if you haven't been yet, maybe soon you'll be visiting the pumpkin patch. Well, all through the year, there's all different kinds of things that become ripe. And when it's time to pick them, we call that the harvest, or harvesting. Well, in Bible times, the people had to harvest what they grew too. And in our Bibles, there's a chapter called Deuteronomy. And if you have your Bible, you could have someone, an older brother or sister, mom and dad, share the story that I'm going to read with you. I'm going to go to the chapter called Deuteronomy, and that's in the very beginning of your Bible. And I read from chapter 16, from verses 9 through 15. "7 weeks after the harvest begins, there shall be another festival before the Lord your God, called the Festival of Weeks. At that time, bring to him a free will offering, proportionate in size to his blessing upon you, as judged by the amount of your harvest. It is a time to rejoice before the Lord with your family and household. And don't forget to include the local Levites, foreigners, widows, and orphans. Invite them to accompany you to the celebration at the sanctuary. Remember, you were a slave in Egypt, so be sure to carry out this command. Another celebration, the festival of the Tabernacles, must be observed for 7 days at the end of the harvest season, after the grain is threshed and the grapes have been pressed. This will be a happy time of rejoicing together with your family and servants. This feast will be held at the sanctuary, which will be located at the place the Lord will tell you. It is a time of deep thanksgiving to the Lord for blessing you with a good harvest and in so many other ways. It shall be a great time of joy." bring some pictures to show you what it was like to actually harvest during Bible times. Now, during the fall, the people would plant their seeds for wheat, and they would grow over the winter. And then in the spring, after the rains, the wheat would be ready for harvest, and it would grow to look something like this. So when they harvested it, they had to go out in the fields with a special tool and cut it down and tie it into big bundles. And then they had to thresh the wheat. And there's a picture of how they might do that. They would use either a donkey or an oxen that would be pulling a very heavy, almost like a sled. And sometimes the little children even got to sit on those sleds to make them even more heavy. And what that did was separate the grain from the stems. Then, after that, they had to do what was called winnowing. And they would take big rakes or forks and throw the grain up into the air. And that would separate the seeds from the husks, the part that you don't want to eat. And then after that, they would put the grains between heavy stones, and they would have to grind it and work it until it became a very fine flour, such as this. And once you had it into the flour, then they could form it and add water and make it into loaves and bake it in an oven. Can you imagine all of that hard work going into making something as simple as bread? Did you ever think about where your bread comes from? I'm sure you're saying, well, we get it at the grocery store, or it's always in the bread box, or always in the cabinet. But did you ever think about all the work that goes into growing it? These people sure worked very hard. Now, after the wheat harvest, they could harvest grapes. And here's a picture of a woman out picking the grapes. And after they picked all the grapes, then came the fun part. They put them in a big open area or in barrels, and the people would take off their shoes and stomp on the grapes to make the juice into the wine or just the juice. And some grapes they left dry out so that they could have raisins. I'm sure some of you would enjoy stomping on grapes, but I wouldn't try it without mom or dad knowing. All right. Now, once all of these harvest times were complete, it was time for the people to give thanks. God had instructed them several times a year to take their fruits and to present them to the Lord at the temple. So they would gather their bread and their juice and all kinds of other things. They would grow dates and figs and pomegranates, and they would take these wonderful things to the temple in Jerusalem, where they would share them with everyone. And these festivals would last for at least a week, so it was a great time of joy and celebration. But the thing they had to remember, it wasn't just about having all of these good things to eat. It was about remembering that God is the one who provided all this goodness to them. They remembered being slaves in Egypt and being led through the desert and the wilderness for 40 years, and God provided for them. And He brought them to this land flowing with all kinds of wonderful things for them to grow and eat. So they never lost sight of the fact that all good gifts come from God. Now, some things that you can do, since Thanksgiving will be coming up this week, it's a time when we can be thankful for all of the goodness we know that God gives to us too. So with your patchwork of thanks, what you can do is color it, and then you can cut it out, and you can fill in some of the things that you're thankful for. What is a prayer God has answered for you this year? What is the one thing that happened in the last year that you're most thankful for? And finally, in what special way has God cared for you this year? And here is a little verse from, again, the chapter of Deuteronomy saying, "For the Lord your God will bless you in all your harvest and in all the work of your hands, and your joy will be complete." You might even want to make extra copies of this handout so that your family members can do it too. And then maybe at Thanksgiving, you could all share what you're thankful for. For you older kids, here's a Bible or a Thanksgiving word find to enjoy. And I hope you got to make that cinnamon popcorn, because this is something that you can share with someone else. And a fun way to do it is to make a little basket. So if you happen to have some kind of a little brown bag around the house, any size or color, all you have to do is cut off a portion of the top of the bag and open it up, and then just fold it down a little bit. It's tricky at first, but you can smooth it out. And if you'd like, you can do it one more time. Okay, and then if you happen to have a hole punch, you can punch little holes on the sides of your little basket and decorate it with some ribbon or crepe paper streamers or whatever you want to do. And then you can take some of that delicious popcorn that you just made, put it into your basket, and then you can share that with whoever you'd like to share it with. So again, as you enjoy your Thanksgiving this week, I pray a special blessing for all of your families and hope that you're all doing well. And before we leave, I'd like to share a prayer with you. So let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this time together. We offer our thanks to you for the wonderful blessings we enjoy each day. Help us to remember that all of these good things come from your hand. May we always remember to share what we have with those less fortunate. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Bye. Thanks for joining me.